a nice sky that day for sure.
Always smile.
Yeah, look, Mr. Burns.
That angle too.
We're good. Okay.
Like all of it. Yep. Love it.
All right, looks like it is 4:36, and at this time we'll call the meeting of the Kansas City Commission to order. And with that, Commissioner Ward, would you please?
Sure, go back with me. Oh God, I just thank you for this rain that you provided us that we so desperately needed, and I pray that you'll just guide us as we make future decisions for this wonderful city. Thank you for all the many blessings that you've already given us. In Jesus' name, amen.
I'll stand with me.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next, we're to public comment, but here at the first, I want to say one more time, Commissioner Ward, appreciate your service again, so thank you very much. And, last meeting for you and Commissioner Ray, who's not here, but appreciate both y'all's service. So, and have our new commissioner who will be sworn in, Danny Potter, back here in the back. So, Danny, appreciate you and your willingness to step on board. And Robin Kramer, not here today, but I think looking forward to having both of you all on City Commission with us. Next, we do have, next item is actually approval of the minutes of the meeting of May 1st, 2023.
If there are no changes, I make a motion that we approve.
Second. We have a motion and second to approve the minutes as written. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. The motion passes. All right, item number 5, public comment. Comments from interested citizens. Megan, do we have anybody signed?
I don't have anyone signed in there.
All right, thank you. Takes us to item number 6, first reading of resolution number 22-2023, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Canyon approving a project funding agreement between Llano Paladuro II LLC and Canyon Economic Development Corporation relating to direct financial assistance for a new fast food retail establishment in Canyon located at 123rd Street. Stephanie.
On April 6th of this year, the Economic Development approved this funding for direct financial assistance for a property. It's for $100,000. The funds will be dispersed directly to Llano, courtesy of the CADC. We did have a public hearing on May 11th with no opposition.
This is the first reading. Any questions for Stephanie from the Commission? Okay. Then item number 7 is first reading of resolution number 23-2023, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Canyon approving a project funding agreement between All Who Wander LLC, DBA Paladura Outfitters, and Canyon Economic Development Corporation relating to direct financial assistance and job incentives for business expansion in Canyon.
Again, on April 6th, we have the opportunity to help a current business expand to a property on 1603. It's Paladura Outfitters. The actual total funding will be no more than $127,000. Again, we had a public hearing on May 11th with no opposition.
Questions or discussions regarding that? If not, it is also not an action item. And item number 8 is first reading of resolution number 24-2023, a a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Kenyon approving a project funding agreement between Pondaseta Brewing Company LLC and Kenyon Economic Development Corporation relating to direct financial assistance and job incentives for new business in Kenyon.
Again, on April 6th, again, since the day one of my job, we've been working on this project. We're super excited to be able to help a local couple families, Pondaseta Brewing Company LLC, with direct financial assistance and job assistance. The funding will be no more than $200,000. Again, we had our public hearing on May 11th with no opposition.
Any questions? Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. All right, item number 9 is consider and take appropriate action on 380 agreement between the City of Kenyon and Pondaseta Brewing LLC, a Texas limited liability company. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is Canyon's first 380 agreement that I am aware of since we formulated our 380 program for the city. This agreement highlights a lease purchase option with Pondaseta Brewing Company with certain stipulations from both organizations. Ultimately, it's a 5-year contract. That date does not start until an issue of a certificate of occupancy is issued by Building Safety. That's their starting day of the 5-year timeline. In discussions with ownership from Pondaseta Brewery, they anticipate 12 to 18 months of construction time. And so it could be up to longer than that, or it could be up to 6 years if you incorporate that time. With that being said, they also have a 30-month option to purchase early. So between 30 months and 5 years, they could purchase that property at any point in time, buying out the dollar amount. Ultimately, the whole dollar amount to purchase property is $173,000. That includes the building plus around 3.2 acres. All of their lease payments will go towards that purchase price. In addition, we have already done some work. The asbestos has completely been abated in the structure. So when the work commences with Pondaseta Brewing Company on all the improvements, they will not have to do any asbestos abatement or survey work. Additionally, the Public Works Department will extend a new water main to the current facility. The previous water main was under the railroad tracks and will be abandoned in the immediate future. We do have some sewer there already, so that shouldn't be a major hurdle. Additionally, we will have waiver of building permits. They will still have to acquire building permits, but those fees will all be waived by the city per this agreement. Overall, that's the majority of the context of the contract as you see lined out in your agreement. It is my understanding the ownership has agreed to these terms. These terms do coincide with the same agreement that the CEDC highlights. Some of the things that were brought up from the EDC and the City Commission is if Pondaseta Brewing Company does decide to sell the property one day down the road, the EDC and City have the first right of refusal to purchase that property. Other than that, Steph, did I miss anything that you can think of? Overall, I think that's pretty much it. So, unlike the EDC, we don't have a 60-day waiting period. So, upon action by this body, this can be in effect immediately. At this point, does anybody have any lingering questions? We already discussed this before and prior, so I don't know if there's much lingering questions to be had.
Guys happy with it?
It's been a good process working with these two guys for 2.5, 3 years now, I think.
6 months. It's been great. It's been great.
So, we are ready to move forward. We're excited.
It's an exciting project, so. Tanner, do would you all like to come up, or Trevor? I always get three brothers mixed up.
Me too.
Would you all like to come up and talk about the project some, or you're welcome to if somebody'd like to.
Caleb's the talker.
So Pondaseta Brewing Co. has been looking at expanding and adding production capacity as kind of our initial plan to make more product, so we can increase both our retail sales as well as increase our wholesale sales across the state, generally speaking, but more specifically the Panhandle region. And so we've been in discussion on this project for, as mentioned, 2.5, almost 3 years, and I think this property in particular gives us a lot of opportunity for long-term growth. So kind of everything that's been highlighted probably in the agreement that we're talking about right now is what we're kind of considering our primary first step plan for this project. It'll allow us to open up a restaurant and a production brewery space within the existing structure. But as mentioned, the property is nearly 3 acres, so it gives us a lot of room for future growth. I think that's where we see the long-term benefit for both ourselves and our business, as well as the community, is it can kind of create a bit of an icon in the Texas Panhandle for craft beer. So we're very excited about this project.
Mr. Mayor, I finally make a motion to approve the City of Canyon creating for economic development incentives between the City of Canyon and Pondaseta Brewery Co. LLC.
And to authorize the city manager to sign said agreement.
So moved.
Okay, I'll second it.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second to approve the 380 agreement. Is there any further discussion?
I surely hope not. My goodness.
All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. And I'm going to abstain. It's a weight distance relationship, but there is a weight distance relationship. So, anyway. Well, 3-0 and the motion passes, and yeah, we're excited. I think the city's excited. You all have done it really well and are shown what you can do in the brewing business, and excited to have a couple of Canyon boys back in the middle of our community here, along with a couple of Canyon families and all too, that really think great things for the future. So thank you, and yeah, the city's excited here. All right, that takes us to item number 10. Consider and take appropriate action on a plat for Rocky Ridge Unit Number 2A, a replat of a subdivision within the territorial jurisdiction of the City of Canyon.
All right. So we've got a replat here. The first plat was administratively approved because there was no dedicated right-of-way. The property owner has come back and they've decided to replat the existing 2 commercial lots with a dedicated entrance in between the 2 off of US Highway 60. So that's what this plat accomplishes. It dedicates that right-of-way and some public utility easements and drainage easements along the existing 2 lots. This is allows them to have an entrance for those commercial lots, and then in the future it might tie in for other development. Any questions?
Doesn't sound like it. I would entertain a motion if everybody's good.
Make a motion that we approve the replat of Rocky Ridge Unit 2A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the replat. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thanks, Luke. All right, item number 11, consider and take appropriate action on the Canyon Police Department 2022 Annual Report and 2022 Racial Profiling Report. Chief Rush.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry to be a little little late in the year to be doing this. We had quite a bit going on at the first of the year, so I'll apologize for that up front. Second, I want to start off and just recognize Megan. She did a great job on the form for us, and she put all this together and made it look pretty. I'd be pretty black and white with just some numbers on a page if it was me, so thanks to Megan for doing this. So with the annual report, because the Code of Ordinances requires an annual traffic report, and the Code of Criminal Procedure requires that I submit the annual racial profiling report to the governing body. We've kind of combined the two. And the report, of course, talks about our accreditation, and that obviously that's very important to us. The accreditation overview in the report didn't mention that we did obtain that 5th reaccreditation status, but that'll be in next year's report, and it'll be old news by then. So the main part of the report is the kind of the year in review. It talks about our calls for service and our animal control information and the Part 1 crimes, the bigger crimes that we report to the state. As you can see in the report, most of those are down. We've compared the last 3 years. Most of those are down except for citations, which are actually just traffic stops. It's the same number of traffic stops, so not all of those are citations. Some are warnings. But those are up because of last year's increase in traffic accidents, which is the next column down. We kind of increased our traffic enforcement, and we feel like that helped contribute to the lowering of traffic crashes this year. We did have more personal injury crashes, but we had one less fatality, and we did significantly lower the property damage crashes. The only crimes, Part 1 crimes that were really up were robbery, burglary, and arson. However, we have so few robberies and arsons in particular that it only takes one to really bump that and make it go away when we're considering percentages. So overall, we feel like crime and traffic crashes are down overall in the city for the year, and traffic enforcement is up. So we're pretty proud of this year's report and the numbers we compiled. The next section of the report is the annual racial profiling report. And this year we put in the percentages instead of the hard numbers. I did print out the hard numbers just in case you asked me, and they're on my printer in my office if you ask. So that didn't help a lot. Total number of traffic stops this year was 3,302. That's including warnings and citations. You can see from the next little section there where it asks if the race or ethnicity of the drivers was known before the time of the stop. 99% of the time it was not. Sometimes you do see the driver as you're getting ready to make a stop, so you know that. It's not a bad thing. We just like it to be low. It would be concerning if we knew that every time. Most of the traffic stops were conducted on city streets, and then the rest of the information is really just kind of breaks everything down by the different races that we're required to report on for the state. And just without going one by one and talking about everything, there's just nothing there to indicate that the officers, when they're working traffic and making traffic stops, that they're doing it based on anybody's race or ethnicity. There's nothing there to indicate that they're doing it in a biased manner. That they're just out enforcing traffic and trying to make their stops. Of course, if I'm open to discuss any of the information that's in the report, or gather any more information that you might be interested in seeing. Like I said, we do have the actual numbers versus the percentages for the racial profiling report. If you want to see those, I really can. I can jog down and make that happen. It's not much more exciting than the percentages were. It really shows that our officers are doing a great job, and they're not being biased or prejudiced.
Pro Tem, you all good there?
All good. Looks great.
Does it add up to 100%?
2022 police department and 2022 racial profiling.
Second. Good job, I'm so excited.
Mark this down. Seen that.
Have
Well, they
a-
didn't bring the report for me to look at, so I thought I'd go ahead and approve it.
Have a motion and second to approve the 2022 Police Department Annual Report and the 2022 Racial Profiling Report. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All that work for like 5 minutes of glory.
About 4.5 more than I really wanted.
You know, Chief, I don't think we can hardly say it enough times. On the accreditation, I think that's just a tremendous piece. You know, you have other folks, city governments calling to get, you know, defund police departments or just throwing rocks at police departments or, you know, pieces, ought to do training, accreditation. Well, you all have been doing accreditation. This is the 5th annual time that accredited. And I think, you know, and I think is that over close to 20 years? So,
Yes,
you
you're
know,
close to 20, since 2008, we've been accredited.
so you all been doing it well and doing it right for many years and foresight to already go down that road. So I think that's tremendous for, you know, what we're seeing in our country right now. You all are doing it right and doing it well and appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Once again, most of the real hard work was done by Matt there, so shout out to him.
Thank you too.
At the same time, he really put a lot of effort into it.
All right, takes us to item number 12, presentation of CIP from Purchasing Manager Bo Boyer.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. I always enjoy talking about the CIP because we're coming together, we're confronting some pretty big obstacles that the city's facing and really discussing some solutions, which I find really encouraging and hopeful. This presentation today is really the 5th of 7 steps in our annual CIP process. After requests have been received by staff members, been reviewed by different layers or different levels of management, scored and prioritized. We're here with this presentation. After today, the next step would then be to get projects included within the annual budget. And then after that, start work at the very beginning of the fiscal year. The purpose of the CIP is to really identify and plan for large projects that could potentially put a large demand on our resources. Because of that demand, we like to have a lot of forethought, a lot of forecasting, really look ahead. Projects that are part of a larger vision, including the comprehensive strategic and downtown master plans are included in here. Also, any needs that can't be addressed with daily operations, we'll make sure that they're included on the list as well so that they don't get overlooked. Since the beginning of the capital improvement plan in 2021, we have completed 9 different projects with a combined cost of over $6 million. Currently, right now, there are 147 projects on our list, 7 of which were added this year. Now this year, all 147 projects were scored by our staff, which was a really great accomplishment, being able to have everybody come together and contribute with that. These scores help prioritize the scheduling and available resources for all 147. There are 9 criteria by which each project is scored by. These criteria were established by the commission. Broken up into 2 different categories. One is the community, the other is the organization. The community criteria includes the effect on the public health and safety of the city. Then there's the fulfillment of strategic initiatives and master plans, its role in our economic development, and its impact on the quality of life and the image of our city. Organization criteria that was scored on, also the project's need to fulfill regulatory compliance, its impact on the operational budget. You know, when it's completed, are there more costs added to our operations, or does it contribute new revenue to our budget? What's the impact that's going to have there? The availability of cost sharing or external funding such as grants, increase the score there. The project's bearing on city's infrastructure, will it lower or increase maintenance, or will it extend services to new growth areas? Projects are scored on each of these 9 criteria on a basis of 1 to 5, 1 being low, 5 being high. Lowest possible score is a 9, highest possible score is a 45. So when looking at the results of all the scores, and on the list that was also included on attachment, it includes the scores for each project, but also there's a column titled Department Priority. Sometimes a project didn't get scored very high, but department staff feel like it still needs some attention. So there's an orange triangle there by each of those projects, just so that they don't get overlooked either. So overall, the projects, the average and the median score was both 22.8. The project with the lowest score of 14.5, that was the expansion of the library patio. The 3 projects with the highest score, first is the first phase of the 4th Street Pump Station renovation. We're going to look closer at that here in just a little bit. Then there's the installation of the new golf course irrigation system, which we have a new fee in place to prepare us for that. And then there is the expanded Brick Street area, which is a part of our downtown master plan. Those are the 3 top scored projects. So let's look at some projects in progress. First, we have the city facility, the planning for the fire station, police station, and city hall. You can see the 3 scores there for each of those. Police station got a score of 27.5. City hall got a 26.5. Fire department got a 29. Sims Architects is the contractor that's helping us with the planning and the presentation of those needs. And right now for that planning phase, we have about $100,000 set aside as needed. The next project, this is ongoing, is the Reeves Hinger Elementary water line and relocation and additional improvements. Planning for this has been going on for more than 2 years, but actual work started just about a year ago when the school year ended. The work was able to be completed there at Reeves Hinger before the school year began, but it's still work being done on those associated alleys. It's about 97.5% complete, really just waiting on some manhole covers. We're very close to finishing this project. Next one, the forced main replacement, upsizing last mile of the line going to the wastewater facilities for treatment. This is our first of 2 ARPA-related projects. This is in the planning phase right now, about 95% complete there. Because it is ARPA, there are deadlines for that funding. It needs to be obligated by the end of next calendar year, and it needs to be spent by the end of 2026. So there is a ticking clock with that project. Next is the 18th Street extension. This is associated with the Kylie Heiner Memorial Playground, extending this 18th Street to provide better access and parking to that playground. When we first planned this project, the 18th Street and Kylie Heiner were 2 separate projects. They're now being completed together. And so if you look at the next one, you can see the combined cost right now is estimated at $1.65 million. So this is the playground and the street extension together. Hope to have this project completed by this summer. And the last one that's currently in progress is the reconstruction of the Brown Road Railroad approach. Still working out details in the plans there. We hope to have the engineering services done and paid for by the end of this fiscal year. We just need to plan for next fiscal year for those construction costs, including the quiet zone. So altogether, total $780,000. City's estimated portion of that right now is about $500,000.
Pause real quick, though.
Yes.
Bo, just in regard to that too, because I
Yes,
think
sir.
we get a lot of public input or questions about that project and all too. And so the railroad's the one that has shut that down.
Yes.
And at this point, repairs were made by the railroad to the railroad crossing, which we believe could could allow that road to be opened until widening or improvements to that. So at this point, I just wanted out there, it's not, the city would love to have that reopened. We think it could be reopened, and we've got a request to have it reopened. And until, likely we will figure out a way to go down this road. But anyway, I just want to throw that out because we get a lot of public comment in regard to that.
Absolutely, yes, sir. Looking at upcoming projects, these are projects that have received either partial or full funding from the city, but work hasn't been started on them yet. The first one is the 4th Street Pump Station reconstruction. This is phase 1, looking at the above-ground water storage tank and associated accessories that go along with that. This is the second ARPA funding. Over $2.5 million for this project, all covered by ARPA, and we hope to have this project going out to bidding very soon. Next project is for the new development at Myra Park, subdivision utility extension. This is a shared cost project with the city and the developer. The city is paying the full cost. The developer will be paying their portion back over time. Their portion does not include the oversizing for that we're putting in for future development. And that number there, that $448,160, that does not include the interest that the developer will be paying on their payments as well. That is just their principal amount. Right now, we have $830,000 set aside for that project. We hope to be able to include the remaining amount needed to completely fund that project in next year's budget. Then the master drainage plan, looking at and prioritizing needs for stormwater drainage improvements. This is 90% covered by grant. We currently have the city's portion at $25,000 set aside and ready if and when we do receive that grant. Water protection backup power. This is to install 6 generators at 3 locations. This is as a result in response to State Senate Bill 3. After the cold weather we got a couple years ago, state wanted to make sure that our utility infrastructure was safe if power went out. This is the new requirement to fulfill those standards. This is again 90% hopefully covered by grants if and when it does get approved. We do need to have 90%, over $86,000 ready to move forward there. We currently have almost $69,000. We hope to include the remaining amount needed in next year's budget, if resources are available. Next project is related to a CDBG grant, our water and wastewater line replacement and upsizing, taking place in the alleys between 6th and 8th Avenue. Again, another grant-funded project. The city does already have our portion set aside and ready if and when we receive this grant. All right, and the last one that is upcoming is our burn house for the fire department. Last year, we did receive and solicit bids for this project twice. First time, we did not receive a response. The second time, we received one response. It was more than double our estimated cost at that time. So it's not moving forward until we are able to set aside more funding for this project. All right, looking at potential projects for next year's budget. These are all preliminary. We don't yet know that resources are available for these. Some projects may come off, some others may be added, some may be switched. But we do want everybody to be thinking about them now especially once we start presenting budgetary information, you know what these CIP projects are and what they're for. The first 3 I mentioned earlier, they're about additional funding needing for projects that are already upcoming to make sure that we have our financial need ready to go. The next project, utility easement land acquisition, we want about $75,000 in cash available in case the need arises that we need to purchase an easement. We won't be scrambling for the cash, it'll be ready. I-27 Gateway, need a little context with I-27. There TxDOT is going to be doing some construction there in the coming years. They have accelerated their plans by a year than what we were expecting. That means that we need to have our plans in place for any resources or projects that may coincide with their plans, so that when they present their plans, we're all ready to go. Schedules and everything are in place. We can do our work while they're doing their work. So one of those is a new gateway we'd like to have there at the split north of town, a new way of welcoming people as they drive into town. Another one that's not listed on here, there's potentially 3 water utility lines running at the same location in between the North Water Tower and the Kim Road Water Facility. Right now, there's 1 line there in place that will need to be replaced when this work is done. That line is 40 years old. We had already planned on a redundant line there. This has accelerated that plan to make sure that that redundant line crossing is there I-27. And also, we've been needing a line connecting Spring Canyon wells to that Kim Road facility. So that's 3 lines that would be placed there at the I-27 crossing at the same time that TxDOT is doing this work. Estimated cost right now for those 3 lines is about $800,000. Not included on this list right now, but once y'all see some budget reports, you may see some references to that need in those reports as well.
We will be reimbursed for one of those lines. The existing line will be reimbursable. And that's just the line in the TxDOT right-of-way. Doesn't go any further than that. Just from one right-of-way edge to the other right-of-way edge.
Sir. The next project, potential new development at the lumber yard, a commercial development there, needing some utility extensions. I'll go into more detail about that project here in a little bit later, but $350,000 for that project. The next 2, the annual water line and wastewater line improvements. These 2 items were included in our utility rate study. We won $150,000 for each. This is not for new lines. This is for maintenance on existing lines. Want to have it available for the next 3 years. It's $150,000, and the years after that, we want to have $200,000 each after that. Not any specific need identified right now. We just want to have the cash available if and when it's needed. Next project, the dredging of the wastewater lagoons. This project right now, the cost is estimated about $1.2 million. That's a large chunk of money to have up front right away. We want to split that up into 3 years, $400,000 each. The need for that is to make sure that our wastewater treatment facilities are ready to meet the demands of our growing community. Dredging those lawns, those lagoons, cleaning them out, the capacity then gets to where they should be.
So how are our lagoons doing now?
Mr. Poole?
Currently, we are 1/3 full of sludge per a hydraulics sludge survey that we had taken. Dredging will increase our pond's capacity by 1/3.
So John, Dan, what about our
BOD. He's talking about BOD.
Our BODs, I actually just got an email on them. Pond 1 is a 38, Pond 2 is a 41, and the combined is, hang on, I have it right here. Combined is 41.
And those are terrific scores, correct?
Yes, our permitted level is 100 with a 40% buffer. We're allowed to go over 40% of that, so we're well under permitted requirements.
As part of that, those aerators are working then, or is that?
That and with some learning curve on how to react with the heat and the cold, with adjusting our pond levels, basically with the holding time of the water.
All right, last project on our list is the Hunsley Park restroom improvements. The restrooms there are in poor condition. They've been needing renovations for some time. We'd like to get that project included in our budget next year. And actually, next slide has some details there. Oh, I lost my slide changer. So we're estimating cost about $175,000. That does not include the pavilion. We believe the pavilion is in good shape. This is just for the restroom facilities. And then, as I mentioned, for more details about that lumberyard development, to To extend water utilities, about $227,000. Wastewater, there's two options still in consideration there. One over $225,000, option two over $400,000. And I welcome any questions y'all have about capital improvement plan or any upcoming projects that y'all may have.
One, and had a chance to visit with Joe earlier today too, but I think really it'd be important for us to figure out how to get some of the wells functioning in our areas of our new water rights, to spread out where we're pumping some of our water from, so we don't pump down, existing areas and, anyway, just spreading those out. To fund those two though, I think we really could go in and if we had to, if we had COs or state water funds, that could be repaid. If we needed to reduce some of what we were buying from Amarillo, I think we'd have ways to do that don't have to probably even raise rates or taxes, but anyway, that's my thought on that area, just for long term.
Sir.
What's been great about this whole process, and thank you, Bo, for putting this all together, is of the fact that there's about 6 people or 7 people in this room that are highly aware of every one of those projects, because we've graded them, we talk about them all the time. Thank you, Bo, for keeping up with it and putting it all together, because it's a lot of projects, and even the grading process was a great process. It did take a little time, but thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
I don't have anything. Commission, any other questions? I love the future planning of this. I think it is tremendous. So, it was a goal for a long time to have the CIP program put in place. So, Joe, appreciate Dan, appreciate what you've done there. So.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then, Bo, I guess you're up next to then with consider and take appropriate action on purchase of wastewater department trucks.
Yes, thank you. Wastewater is looking to purchase a pickup capable of moving some of their larger equipment, as well as a utility uplift that includes storage for their tools and smaller equipment to make sure it's portable and secure. Right now, the current quote we have is $55,192. That is $192 over what we had budgeted to make this purchase this year. So it's purchased from the Capital Equipment Fund. Because of that, Wastewater Operations does make annual payments to repay the Capital Equipment Fund for that. So you can see the impact of those annual payments is also $44 over what we had budgeted for this year. This truck will replace 10-year-old pickup. And welcome any questions y'all may have.
You're gonna be able to get one pretty quick.
We have one identified right now. They have been holding on to it for over a month, and so we are really hoping it remains there. It is currently in Colorado Springs.
Make a motion to authorize city staff to purchase a truck for the wastewater department.
Have a motion and a second to authorize the purchase. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. All right. Okay. That takes us to item number 14, executive session pursuant to 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, and 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. And with that, we got 5:21, and we will adjourn into exec session, and we'll take a 5-minute break then. Go back.
Can I get a picture with the commission and the Bondesada guys?
The whole crew.
Appreciate our
Picture with the commission, so. I've got a full release ready with quotes and everything. I just can't release it, I can't release it.
Took forever.
How are you, Chuck? I'm good. Good. Moving out with Mall in June, like you